Holy Dinah. Howard, I'm not even going to say what number episode this is because it's gotten to
100.
set the number.
Yeah, it's going well. Today it's a bit casual. You can see I'm wearing a t-shirt today. It's also evening
Relax.
time, which is, yeah, it's just relaxed. It's evening chill. It's nighttime. I'm outdoors, so the lighting might get darker and darker as we go.
You're setting the
Um,
mood for a romantic conversation.
setting
I like
setting the mood. Yeah, after today, I kind of had it with some of these LinkedIn posts that I'm seeing, these like comment below for playbook or meetings, and these outlandish claims of 149 meetings an hour
that.
using AI. I mean, even if you had an SDR team of 1,000, I don't even think you can get 150 meetings, in a day kind of thing. Well, maybe it depends on what you sell. So I just had it. I just like had to rant today about just because these playbooks, they come. Someone just goes into ChatGPT and they just type in, "Give me a playbook for running automated demand gen and appointment setting."
I think that you're touching on something that's so core right now because we're at the interface of what can be digitized and marketing and what we need human beings with empathy and communication to do. And I think you're leading and setting this up for a great segue to a very special guest that we have today on the show. We've gone around the GTM, and here he is, the captain of Outbound, Omri Kenan in the house.
Woo.
Hello,
Welcome,
hello.
Omri.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Great to see you, Howard. Great to see you, Jake.
Yes.
Omri, is it fair to
So
say
nice.
that you've done everything from coffee, and you've done it in many countries, and then you've led outbound teams across the globe? Is that a fair, quick bio of what you've accomplished?
It sounds more impressive when you say it like that. I can say that I had a decade in the food industry, and coffee took me places. That's how I like England and Germany and Belgium and France and so on. And then I did the pivot to tech while studying industrial design, and that's where I discovered B2B sales, and from there I had the opportunity to really work in many different teams across the globe, from APAC to the US.
Drop some brand names. Drop some of the names that you've worked. We want to be blown out of our out of the Zoom. Let's tell us.
Like companies.
Well, Jake, let me blow your mind for a little bit. I don't think you know this, but me and Omri were classmates. We were part of an onboarding cohort at SimilarWeb, I think 10 years ago at this point.
2016, yeah.
Almost 10 years. So that's when I met you, Omri. And you had such a strong presence then, and I can see now as well, just following your career since then.
Yeah, actually, SimilarWeb is one of the companies that I worked, and actually I'm a boomerang. Left after 2 years and came back for another 3 years, which was an amazing.
Nice.
And actually, it's also a story that I use a lot. The story how I got to SimilarWeb was when I coach candidates who wants to get into tech, and when I pivoted from the food industry, I always tell my dream was to work at SimilarWeb. I saw a documentary a year before that about a company called SimilarWeb, a small startup with about 50 employees. And I was always kind of, and I asked myself, how the hell do I get to work in a company like that? And that's before Sales Class, Jake, yeah? There were no courses or nothing. And what I did is I found through a friend a small startup that was looking for, a junior person to learn a lot. And it happens to be in the marketing field, SEO and PPC and affiliate. And then for a year, I've been kind of trying to learn the industry. And then when I felt ready, I applied. And yeah, I remember and cherish our mutual onboarding, Howard.
Yeah, they had a great program, I would say. You could probably, you also work with Jake in the sales class now, but so you can probably reflect on that. And I often do, thinking of the training that they gave for the discovery, for the demoing, for the presentation, the whole piece that you have to bring yourself and how to sell a software product. I thought that they did an amazing job. Joe First and Dave Hyman. We all know them here from the community. They both are amazing at what they do as far as coaching and training salespeople.
Yeah,
That's a great segue. I want to use that because, Omri is a big believer in talent. And not only did he benefit from someone taking a bit of a gamble, but Omri, I know that you train people and you recruit people who are not necessarily from this industry. And when I speak with people about potential, and in a crowded market when there's so many people out there who are with experience, how can you discern who's high potential and is going to have a chance to activate that potential versus someone who's like, they're a career switcher, they're not really with it? What are some of the guidelines that you have when you're going to take on someone?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I just want to say something. A lot of people, leaders, reach out to me and say, should I hire a junior talented, like a junior without any experience, or should I hire someone with experience? And I do hire people without experience, but there is one big condition is, before I speak about them, is the ability and the infrastructure to teach them. A lot of companies do not have the bandwidth or the infrastructure or the knowledge to teach them, and therefore they should go and hire an experience. And there are plenty of great experienced BDRs and SDRs out there. When I look for candidates, I look for intuition, I look for readiness, I look for motivation, I look for people that come prepared, that do their due diligence, people that are capable to self-learn. And I have my biggest success were the interns. I don't know if I should name drop a few people here, but Francesca, Tova, a lot of great people that came as without any experience and turned out to be superstar. Why? Because they had the mindset and the motivation and the focus and the ability to learn and ready to go the extra mile. Of course, I don't just take people because they're nice and motivated. They go through a very thorough interview process and assignment. And I think that's the part that also is lacking when you hire. People skip because they have a great impression of somebody. You should never skip from the process. Every time that I skip the process because I thought, you know what, this guy comes with experience, turned out big mistake.
Great lesson. Great lesson. Using that formula, what is your success rate on juniors for potential relative to seniors on deliverable? Do you have any sense? Are you able to pick winners that way through this process?
So I think the majority of people that I hired were people without experience. And this is also because of the type of role that we are fulfilling. We are SDRs. We are at the beginning of the funnel of the process. People really are inspired they aspire to get into sales, and we are the back door or the first entry point. So naturally, the people that I hire are more junior. I would say that the people with experience, and sometimes it happens also to me, by the way, that we are basing ourselves for old-fashioned legacy techniques, which in the fast-paced world that we are today, and Howard, I saw your post about the AI promises and everything. Everything is going very, very fast, right? It starts from back in the days where people used to send something in the post letter, and then there were unsolicited emails. Please post, stop it. Then people have used the cold calling. Then Predictable Revenue, the book came out talking about cold calling number 2.
Yes.
Warm up with emails, and then emails sequences starting to abuse. And then LinkedIn was a safe place, and now LinkedIn automation is being abused. And now when you get a message from someone, the first question that you have is it a real person or was it ChatGPT, right? If this is ChatGPT, I will ask ChatGPT to have a conversation. So if you want to be an experienced SDR and continue to excel in the industry, you have always to put yourself back into question and always try to adopt all the new technology, or at least be curious enough to learn about them. And there are amazing, crazy technologies out there.
The technology is always going to change. What are some of the core things that you just have to have as an SDR, that regardless of the tool that you use, or channel that you choose, what makes an SDR stand out above the rest?
So I think that, and by the way, one of the things that I think that in about 2 years max, AI will simply sell to AI purchasing department.
That's a bold claim.
Yeah. I think
In which,
but until we get there, I think that the human advantage is the ability to read also the body language or the intonation, something that AI cannot do. A lot of time when we speak about objection handling, it's about listening to the type of objection, the intonation, how, I once asked ChatGPT, can you feel my mood? And she said, no, I can only understand what you're saying. So that's the, if it is empathy, sympathy, humor, the icebreakers, all those things that AI cannot yet do. And when you have SDRs or people with great energy and people skills, they're usually more successful than others.
It's interesting you say that about, such a claim to the AI will be conversing with AI. I do believe we'll reach that point, but I actually think probably in the shorter to midterm, as a reaction to probably heading somewhere in that direction, I think that it's probably the in-person, like being able to meet with someone, speak with someone, even shake their hands. I know by us, we're having a very big push by Elitico to be in front of the customer, in front of the prospects.
Yeah.
Back, in the door-to-door method, right?
So let's talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about that because it used to be that the emailing, the LinkedIn, all those things were what the SDR did. And many of those things can be AI generated and automated. So it used to be that—
And it's falling for marketing.
Yeah, marketing is expanding, and it's just about using technologies. So what does it mean as a manager, your expectations are for your SDRs? Does that mean that you're expecting just get the RevOps to do the setup, and then they have to make more dials and have a better conversation? How has that shifted, and how do you see that shifting over your expectations as a manager over the coming year?
So great question. It's exactly that, more dials. Right now, we have put a lot of infrastructure in place. And by the way, I'm now at Connecting. We're facing a lot of the challenges. We are targeting deskless employees, and they are not even available in email or LinkedIn.
Right.
So dials is coming back big time. The only thing is we have also to be more prepared, more. We kind of have to take a little bit of the essence of what we did from emailing with the tailored messages in email, but tailored it in a cold call, and not just generically kind of also say, hey, I'm calling from company X, and etc. But I'm a big believer that now there is a lot of noise. There is a huge noise with all the tools and all the automation.
Crazy amount.
And I think that at a certain point, there will be something called three-dimensional outbound, right? When calling and emailing and LinkedIn and everything is interconnected, but it still needs to be managed by a person in the end of the day to not to manage it in terms of the execution, but to monitor the engagement. But the biggest pain is numbness. People get numb to all those messages. Now I'm not going to reveal the secret, but I can identify easily if somebody is using ChatGPT or not, and not specifically if they're using a specific word or not, but the way how it's written, and there is certain signs.
Yeah, sure, of course.
And when you see that sign, when you start to kind of like the metrics, you can identify it. You ignore it. You don't.
I always hear that, especially amongst us in GTM, whether you're in sales, marketing. But I think to a degree, it's because we are creating that and we're receiving it. So we can pick apart these things and we recognize it right away. But I don't want to assume that some personas in certain industries are exposed at that degree or understand it. So I would only push back against it and say I don't believe every persona is flooded in the same way we are. Right?
But
It can't be.
I will challenge you here. I will give you an example. Jake, how are
Yeah.
you?
I'm great.
Howard,
Speaking with
how
you,
are
I'm
you?
great.
Doing well.
Amazing. I ask now a generic question, and
Yeah.
I got a generic answer. Now, if I had a class of 30 students, I ask everybody the same question, I get the same answer. The thing is that there is something with the word how are you that we are programmed to know that the answer is always I'm great. So my fear with ChatGPT, or my concern of the numbness, is there is certain patterns that people are using.
Yeah.
Those patterns are creating certain numbness. So it's not about is the person familiar with the type of email that I'm writing or the technology that I'm using, but is that same question, I get the same question or the same style of emails all the time.
Well, that's
How
why
do
you
I
wouldn't
know?
write those standard questions. I'm running something right now, and I think Omri, you can appreciate this also, Jake, that you have to do an interrupt, something that they're not ready to answer. If your CTA is you want to meet next week, the answer's gonna be no or just ignore. But if you ask something, I mean, this is probably very passe, but if you say, is so and so or can I reach out to so and so, that requires an actual answer. Or when you say something that's actually more specific to getting a non-generic answer, that actually usually gets a reply. It's still, it's still the standard ratio. You're going to get more no's than yeses, but you at least are going to get an engagement.
Yeah, you need also to reduce the length of the messages to capture the attention span of the short attention span. And you're totally right. The call to action is super, super key. And you need to adapt call to action to the persona. For example, to what you just said now, there is the influencer, the CEO, right? You can reach out to the CEO. He's not going to be part of the buying process. He's not going to join a demo. He's not even going to sign the document. It will be the decision maker and the CFO. But reaching out to the CEO and telling him who in your team should I introduce that first, obviously telling him about the strategic value, there is a higher chance that he will delegate it. And hey, look at this great email, speak to this guy. So
yeah, even pass it on, even just forward it.
Exactly. The call to action is super, super important and needs to be more challenging and less generic.
So it really is a balance. So it's going to be difficult. So what is the tipping point? Like Jake, you were asking before, what is the tipping point before saying I can program the AI to do all of those steps? I've even experimented with the next step. You're able to create an AI video and then send that video across to the prospect, and it looks. I used a video of myself, and I kind of fooled myself of what you're able to do. So what is the tipping point? Again, back to my original question, where's that value of the SDR really gonna come from?
So there's a slide. I don't know, Jake, if you remember in sales class that I always share. I share an image of a Cessna plane, which is a small Piper plane, 2 seats. I share an image of an F-35, which is the most advanced plane, and then a drone, without any pilots in it, right? And then I ask the question, what do they all have in common aside from flying in the air? And what they have in common is the pilot. Someone needs to navigate or say what great looks like or tell what is the desired destination. In the case of SDRs, I think that the desired destination is the ICP. So we need to understand the research and identifying the right people and so on. I think that we don't not yet there in terms of AI to do it in a scalable way. I think that I believe that and there is a lot of great tools that are promising automation and personalization. But what they do, they're just repeating one pitch. I saw your profile. I saw what you do.
It's a formula.
Yeah. But they're not based on trigger based. They're not based on compelling events. So the if you want, the SDR's added value is orchestration and ensuring that they identify all the compelling events and connect the dots and adjust a little bit, fine tune a little bit. So kind of a pilot. But to answer your question, or to kind of tell you what will change, I think that teams of 50 SDRs will reduce to 20 SDRs. I think that inbound, where you have high volume signups, and I'm not going to name companies, instead of having a certain team in APAC or in Israel or somewhere anywhere else, you can have AI to do the first calls and filter out. So all those, what will happen, there will be higher optimization. And some companies can even exclude the SDR when we talk about inbound, and then bring it back to the responsibility of the account manager. And some of the companies, when they're talking about much bigger deals, that's where they will go to those events, the face-to-face. That's where there is still the value, because in the end of the day, all those AI and robots and everything, until there will be somebody crazy that will come up and decide it's only for him, where in the end of the day, we are selling for businesses, and in the end of the day, we're doing it through people. So,
Omri, I got two spot questions. The first is about management. Like, there's so much that's being centralized by, you are dealing with new recruits and you're the manager. How much are you writing the cadences, the scripts, and how much do you give to the end? That's my first question. And I want to have a follow-up punch, so watch it.
So first of all, I came from a school or from a scholar that you teach and give guidelines to the SDRs and teach them the product, and then give them, you kind of tell them how to orchestrate, and then you send them away to orchestrate. Now at Connecting, for example, a company that is huge amount of traffic of inbound and huge TAM, we want, and a lot of personas. We want to, I think that the place to script everything and design everything and orchestrate it together with product marketing and everything is super, super important. The thing is the orchestration in the end of the day, how you take from marketing and how you take from enablement and how you put it all together, and then you can launch some kind of strategic outreach. However, if we're talking about strategic accounts, high value accounts, and so on, usually you would give it to the BDR and use his common sense of the context of what you have seen, a post, some kind of relation, connecting the dots of what we have in the CRM in past conversation, and alignment and so on. So it's a bit of combination of both.
I think it also depends on the TAM and how many people, because a lot of these things you want to be centralized so you can actually have the A/B test across multiple SDRs, and so you can gather, test, and refine, and let them do the work on the phone, because many of these things are easily measurable. Interesting. One other direction, because I know that would be remiss, you've worked in many different geographies, and in Israel, we typically sell first to the States, maybe to England, maybe to Europe. So what is the major market that is everyone's fearful or doesn't know about? Those are just the standard plays. Is there a market that, as an SDR leader, someone who's championing outbound, that you say, you know what, that is the market that I think most people are missing?
It's an interesting question, but the bottom line is where you can get the most return. The US has, huge potential, saturated sometimes for certain markets. I can tell you that certain companies that I will not name the company, but where they believed that all the competitors were focusing on the US and Europe, or Western Europe, turns out that Africa was a completely open market that nobody thought about it, and they have huge success. In the end of the day, I would say it depends on a few things. One, on the fit of the product for that market. And when I say fit, it's language. When you want France, Germany, huge market, very rich market, huge market. But they will not work with people that speak English. They will work only with the native language. And that's something that you need to respect.
Or pick up a cold call, right? What's your experience on cold calling there? Can you even do it?
In Europe, US is a free market. Like, you can go and do whatever you want, text them, whatever. But Europe, no. Europe, if you send an email and it was not designed with business disoriented, they will immediately report you to the GDPR, and they will be very rude about it. And then you remind them, hold on, it's a business email, to a certain channel. But these are, look, you know what? I walked the streets last week thinking about, my career and everything and so on. And I asked myself, why the hell did I choose to be at that front of the sales cycle, right? It's kind of the toughest. It's 99% of pushback and everything, but it's fun. I mean, you identify the pain. You bring something that will make, you're not selling the product, you're selling a solution. You're selling something that is going to make things different. So if you have a good product, obviously, you're making an impact. And when you succeed, it's much more rewarding. Like literally today, I had an interview with a candidate, and I say, what would you prefer, inbound or outbound? Would you prefer high volume guaranteed meetings, or low volume hard work but higher reward in the end? And it's a question. Some people would say, I prefer the high volume calling but guaranteed meetings.
Yeah, okay.
People say, I want the challenge. And this is also why outbound is usually has a much higher reward financially. Yeah.
Omri, it's been so great to talk to you. I know that we stole a lot of your time, and that's time that could be on the phone or making sure that your team is delivering the meetings. And I just hear it. You're just such a leader, not just in terms of what you've done for technology, but you bring so much heart. I know that you not just helping young folk find their way into technology, but it also shows with all those clips of you and your kids and your travel plan. So if you're not following Omri, you should, because he's giving not only gems in work, but also in personal life. So Omri, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you so much.
Jake, Howard, thank you very much. You're both amazing people, and I really appreciate this call with you guys.
Thank you. Hope to have you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That was a reunion, Howard. You spent time with him 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was a nice catch up. I can probably speak about SDRing all day. I think one of my original passions into go-to-market was to go. I went for being an SDR. Didn't work straight away. I went into account management and went from there into marketing. But there's something about, I think, what Omri was saying about putting in that effort, that push, that revealing a solution to a prospect that could sometimes be, really rewarding, a reward onto itself.
Lots of fun, and I agree. It's a different skill set, and it's evolving. And I like how he positioned it as you're going to need a quarterback. You're going to need someone to quarterback and be the empathy, if it's on the phone or if it's the AI coordinating all these things. So I think that shows a vision. And as we're getting there, he's really an investor in terms of investing talent to keep people on the edge so that they learn and apply the best practices. So I think that we can see why he's an icon now in the industry.
Yeah, and we'll probably have him back. We should start thinking about, obviously, our future guests and other areas we want to explore. But there's so many times in these conversations, I find that we can probably talk to them for another hour. There's so much to learn, and there's so much to chat about. So I hope we can have Omri and all of our guests back again for another round at some point this year.
Yeah, let's see. So far, it's been great. Howard, it's great to see you and great to be with you. I like to spend time with you.
Yeah. Well, we can always go for a walk. I'll catch you I'll see you in 20 minutes.
That's right. I'll bring my phone and we can record it. Until then, Howard, you take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.